It's Monday, April 6, and this is your Barbados Today Evening News Update. Investigations are continuing into the death of a Barbados Defence Force officer. Sources tell Barbados Today the officer was shot on the compound of the District 8 police station just after 5:30 p.m. Be sure to track this developing story on our news platforms. In other news, a 74-year-old man is the second person to have died from the coronavirus in Barbados. The patient, who tested positive for the viral illness on March 20, died this morning, one day after Minister of Health and Wellness, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic, announced the death of the first victim, an 81-year-old man. Health authorities said the latest patient, who had underlying medical conditions, was infected after coming into contact with another COVID-19 positive person. He had been in isolation since his diagnosis. COVID-19 czar Richard Carter expressed concern about the risk facing the island's elderly population.
It is representing a bit of a pattern that we've been seeing in terms of the number of cases that we've been seeing among the elderly. And in fact, Barbados's socio-demographic situation represents almost a perfect storm for COVID-19 and for adverse outcomes from COVID-19.
Sorry to interrupt, but when you say socio-demographic, could you break that down
Yes,
for me,
so the structure of our population, so we have a large proportion of elderly persons in our population. And of course, we know that elderly persons are much more likely to get really sick and unfortunately more likely to die. We also have among our population a large proportion who are suffering with non-communicable diseases. So hypertension and diabetes in our population are among the highest in the world. So the two of those factors together, the elderly in our population and the large proportion of persons with NCDs, does represent, as I said, a bit of a perfect storm for adverse outcomes.
Meanwhile, the number of COVID-19 cases in Barbados has increased. Carter provided this update.
The number stands at 60. We conducted a number of tests yesterday, and those tests came back, 4 of those tests came back positive. A 47-year-old female and an 84-year-old female, both tested at Paragon, at our Paragon facility. And then we have a 95-year-old male and a 57-year-old female, both presented at one of the polyclinics. The 57-year-old female is the daughter of the 95-year-old male.
The Transport Board assures commuters it will keep buses on the road. Word of this from Chief Executive Officer Fabian Wharton, after he had earlier announced on radio today that the board would end services by the end of the week in light of a drastic reduction in passengers due to the 24-hour curfew. He explained the board had a change of heart because a number of people still require public transport to conduct their fares. Wharton has also disclosed that the board will be offering shuttle services to essential workers. Stay off the road. Today, the Royal Barbados Police Force issued a fresh caution to Barbadians to adhere to the 24-hour curfew, which took effect last Friday. The call comes amid reports from the force that some members of the public have been making passes purporting to be official emergency passes and presenting them to authorities to be able to move around. Police also expressed concern that some people have also been transferring passes among themselves and other family members or friends. They, however, warned that it is an offence to be outside your residence during curfew hours unless you fall in the category of persons that have been officially exempted and have applied for and granted an official emergency pass. Any person found on the streets or other public places without legitimate authority will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. The force is also advising all members of the public to ensure they carry some form of official picture identification while traveling the streets during the curfew.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
On to regional news in Guyana, the 7-member Guyana Elections Commission has agreed that a Caribbean community high-level team should return to validate the recount of last month's general election votes, even as the Chief Elections Officer Keith Lowenfield prepares a recount plan. But looking on from Port of Spain, the Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister Dr. Keith ROWLEY says the situation in Georgetown is worrying. More in this report from TV6 News.
I'm in touch with the chairman of CARICOM on a daily basis, more or less, sometimes on a nightly basis, because we normally communicate at all hours of the night. But speaking as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago and as a Caribbean person, I am very disappointed and also very concerned.
Dr. Rowley told TV6 when he went to Guyana along with a CARICOM team, he hoped the group's presence would have brought a position that would have led to a solution to the election stalemate.
I'm worried that an election of a month ago is a courthouse matter. I'm getting a feeling that this is not going to end well. I hope I'm wrong, but that feeling that the election in the court after a month after election day, I'm not having a good feeling about it.
Rowley said there was reason for more concern.
Became accusations against CARICOM and a legal process. So we had to get out of there.
He is not sure where that leaves CARICOM now, as the matter remains troubling to him.
It cannot go on like this, because it's not going to end well, and nobody's going to benefit from this in Guyana. We've had the opportunity to speak to all the leaders. I mean, we went to Guyana and we spoke to all leaders of political parties, 11 political parties.
He said there is too much at stake.
The headquarters of CARICOM is in Georgetown. So all of this is cause for concern. So we can't accept a situation where at the headquarters, in the headquarters territory, what is being threatened comes to pass. We cannot countenance that.
On the international front in the United Kingdom, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is said to be in safe hands after being moved to the intensive care in hospital after his coronavirus symptoms worsened. The British Foreign Secretary provided this update this evening.
During the course of this afternoon, the Prime Minister's condition worsened, and on the advice of the medical team, he was moved in to a critical care unit. So in light of those circumstances, the Prime Minister asked me as First Secretary to deputise for him where necessary in driving forward the government's plans to defeat coronavirus. And as you'll know, he's been receiving excellent care at St Thomas's Hospital, and we'd like to take this opportunity as a government to thank NHS staff up and down the country for all of their dedication, hard work and commitment in treating everyone who's been affected by this awful virus.
With the Prime Minister now in intensive care, this is obviously an extremely serious situation. I mean, how worried should people be about his health and about who's in charge of the government?
Well, the government's business will continue, and the Prime Minister is in safe hands with a brilliant team at St Thomas's Hospital, and the focus of the government will continue to be on making sure at the Prime Minister's direction all the plans for making sure that we can defeat coronavirus and pull the country through this challenge will be taken forward.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.